Hey, welcome to Main Street Sports Extra. We have Coach Kim Schmidt from the Lady Windsor Owls basketball team. How you doing, Coach?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Ray.
Yeah, appreciate that. And we just wanted to catch up with you real quick and just talk a little bit about last season, a little bit about this season. Last season we had a 9-16 overall record, 1-3 in conference. 0-3 going into this season right now as of the second, which was yesterday or the day before. You fell to Notre Dame in the district playoffs last season. You didn't lose any seniors last year, correct?
We did not. We returned
Oh,
everybody.
how about that? That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a good problem, right?
hmm I think that's the first time I've ever had that. So,
That's great. That's great.
mhm.
We're talking a little bit about some folks from last season. Reagan Daly had a heck of a season as a freshman, averaging 11 points a game. Led the team with 44 assists. Symphony Shadorsky led the team 54 steals. So you've got a lot of great players here to build on for this season. For the folks watching here, Coach Schmidt, give us a little background on yourself, aside from basketball and softball, and have you coached any other sports?
No, actually, basketball and softball are the only two sports that I want to claim any knowledge on. I enjoy other sports, but I have not coached any. I'm not sure that I don't know how marriages last more than two sports anyway. That would be a difficult task to do more than two, but yeah, just the two. I dropped softball a couple years ago and just have been focusing on the basketball. Um, Side of things, and this will be my seventh year here coaching at Windsor. I've been at Windsor teaching longer than that, but this is my seventh year at the helm at Windsor.
Awesome, awesome. So, you've been there for 11 years total. Is that correct?
Correct. I've been teaching
Okay.
here for 11 years.
Okay. Awesome. So we've got 11 years marking your 14th season coaching basketball total. And I do have that correct, right?
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
That's showing some age, though. That makes me seem
That's
kind of old.
okay. Hey, I love it. I love it. Love it that you're able to do that. And for this long, and I know that sounds bad, but hey, that's actually a good thing in my book. So what keeps you motivated to continue to coach basketball?
Um, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, basketball's a really long season, and you've got to really have a lot more invested in just the wins and losses to be able to maintain that for, just within one season, then multiple seasons. And so really the thing that has, kept me coming back every year is just the kids. They're so enjoyable. Especially since I've been here at Windsor, they work hard. They have great attitudes. They're outstanding people. And even whenever, we haven't been able to show things on the win side of the column, it's still every day we want to come back. And I've never had a day where I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be here. And, they're just fun to be around. They're realistic about what they're capable of doing, and they just work really well together. And so, I mean, if it wasn't for them and their attitudes and everything, it wouldn't be worth the time for sure.
That's great. That's great. What is the most rewarding aspect of the job for you?
I think it's having that relationship with the girls and, seeing them be successful. And, that's not always them being successful on the basketball court, although, in the moment, that's what's exciting, things like that. But seeing them be successful in the classroom, in the other sports, the majority of my kids are all more multi-sport athletes. So seeing them, excel in other things is super exciting. And then also just seeing the success that they have as they continue on past high school, whether, like some of those are kids who go on to play sports in college, but it's not even about that. Just seeing them, go to school, grow up, and be members of society, and that that's cool to like maintain those relationships and see how things pan out for them.
That's great. That's great. Uh, Give me maybe a mentor or someone who's helped you develop your interest in coaching.
Um, so funny actually. My husband is who I started coaching. Kind of helped create that desire to coach. And he's coached for a long time as well. And so just something that, when we came home with someone that could relate to and, could share experiences and knew what it was like to put in all the time and effort and, didn't have a problem with being, willing to put in that effort, and we come home, talk some X's and O's and things like that. And so, he's really just been someone who has, made it enjoyable and helps, pick you up whenever perhaps you come home on a night when things, don't go as well, and just kind of help keep a good perspective on things.
That's great. Good to have the spouse involved, and that's always a good thing. I appreciate that. How do you feel about some of the early season tournaments being canceled due to COVID concerns? And do you typically use early tournaments to assess talent and tune up for the regular schedule?
I mean, to be honest, I'm really surprised we've even made it to where we are now. I mean, as I was watching fall sports take place, I couldn't believe that we made it through those. So, as we were approaching, into the winter season, I was just, excited for that opportunity. And, being realistic going in, at some point in time, things are probably going to go bad for us. There's going to be, some hiccups and things like that. And, just keeping that mindset of it is what it is. And we're just happy with, what we're able to do. Luckily, we were able to get a jamboree in. And our opening tournament, we actually it had to be modified a little bit, but we still we got 3 games in for it. We played in the South Side out, and our games were hosted out at Hancock. Mm-hmm. And Steve Kelly did an excellent job out there, and everything went off without a hitch. Just perfect. So besides the fact we didn't have people in the stands, we couldn't really ask for anything more than that. So we've actually been lucky thus far. Like I said, I know we're going to, be on the end of things, going strange and whatnot. And that's just going to be part of the season. And, that's part of the whole thing. Playing sports teaches you a lot about life. And this will be another opportunity. I'm sure we'll hit some adversity or something and have to deal with that. And we'll, be better because of it at the end.
Sure. Yeah. We completely relate with the COVID concerns up in the city here. We've done a couple of games up there, and it is very different not having any fans in the stands. So we totally relate with that. And it's definitely a different atmosphere to approach those games with. What are some of the things that you are emphasizing with your team in these early practice sessions and games?
As you talked about how we didn't graduate anybody, so we're starting in a different position than we have in the past, in which most teams, get to. We've added a couple people to the roster, but we've also kept a lot of people who know, a lot of the systems and have that game experience and stuff like that. So we're you've also mentioned, so we picked up a win last night. So prior to that, we had not the best start. And so we're just focusing on moving forward every day and improving and taking steps forward. Just working on decision making, and just trying to show growth. Like I said, we haven't lost anybody, so that can't be our excuse anymore of not having the experience and things like that. So we've got to have something on our favor in terms of that. And so that's something that we can control. We've got to be able to be better at those things and use that to our advantage. That's great. Those are some good points there. Name some up and coming athletes who may be poised to have a breakout season for your team this year. The first person I'd probably talk about actually is Symphony Sherdowski. Although she played last year and started for us, this will be her second year in varsity. Symphony's just a great kid. So a little background on her. So she didn't start playing basketball till her 8th grade year.
Oh, wow.
And, she has I've never seen someone who's just continually improved. And every year from that first year, her coming in, she was at every open gym that year. And the improvement just from, the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer was just outstanding. And she's someone who wants to learn, wants to get better. She's watching film all the time, and she'll ask questions. And if you tell her something, she'll go back, she'll think on it a little bit. And then, later it'll click and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I need to do this. And, last year, we really talked with her about defense and how, she's so athletic, and, that could be something that could really benefit her. We talked to her and showed her some things about, how she could be better at that. And she really took that to heart and focused on that. She had a good start to the season so far. She's handling the ball for us. And I think right now, and I could be wrong, but I think she's got 4 turnovers going in. Wow. Here in 4 games, handling the ball the most. And that's something that, herself in. I talked about those decision making. We unfortunately, turnovers have really been a problem for us in the past few years. And, to have someone like her who is going to be handling the ball and making good decisions and limiting, those turnovers, that's just something that, is good us and something that, she's continuing to get better on. And then I do want to talk about one other person too. Actually, Peyton Montgomery. So Piper's pretty well-known person around here, but her sister has joined us up on the varsity level this year, and she has hit the ground running. She's eaten up a lot of minutes for us, and is just rebounding the ball very well for us and making some things happen. So I think if she continues in her way, she could be someone who has a pretty good season for herself in her first year in the varsity level.
That's great. We mentioned the freshman Reagan Daly from last season. Do you have any other possible freshmen that might be cracking into the varsity team here?
Not at this point in time. Without graduating anybody, we didn't really have a lot of spots that we need to fill. So that's a good position for us to be in. And, we've got a good group of freshmen this year, which is nice. And, we're finally into a position where we can basically maintain 3 separate levels, which is nice because, just something that I've been working on since I've been here and trying to do that. And we've had to pull a lot either one way or the other for quite so many years. And so, being able to have 3 defined levels, I think, is obviously a good sign and something that, will help us moving forward. So there's a good group down there. And, in a couple of years, we'll be talking about some of them. But right now, they're down there working together.
Great. I know this could be sensitive depending on who you choose here, but I kind of feel like I might know who might be the answer to this question here. But who does your team look to for leadership on the court?
So the answer is going to be Piper for sure.
Right.
And she's just someone who she's so constant and steady and level-headed. She's well liked by everybody. She does the right thing. She's working hard. She's never cutting corners. So she's someone who, kids look up to no matter, even this year, she's at the top. She's the oldest, but, people don't question what she's doing. And she kind of helps lead by example by doing the right things. And, when things kind of get array in a game and things get stressful and things like that, she's always just maintaining. And she's kind of what brings people back down and gets us back to where we need to be.
That's great. I knew that was going to be your answer. Who do you feel, or what do you feel some of the strengths are for your team this year?
Kind of what I mentioned before is just, our experience that we have. We had to baptize some people by some fire in the past couple years. And, we questioned doing that. We knew that, it's kind of something we had to do. We had to put some kids in a position. And, in the end, we're hoping that we're going to be better because of that. Like I said, we've got some kids who have logged a lot of minutes on the varsity level. I've got the Spurgeon sisters and Piper, who this will be year 3 for them. And so, there's some kids we kind of put in a position and, might have not have been the most enjoyable early on for them, but, really took to it and have worked hard and wanted to be successful. And I think having that experience under their belts is, that's what we're hoping is going to help us in the future.
That's great. So let's talk about team goals for this season. What are your team goals and how do you plan on measuring that for your team's success this season?
So, our goal, as I mentioned in the beginning, in terms of just, not necessarily measurable, is just moving steps forward. We're no longer, in the past we said, hey, we're young, we're learning, we're trying to get better, those kind of things. And we're trying to not hang our hat on that this year. We want to see what, we put in the time and, had the experiences, and now can we move on and be successful from those? So, our goal is to put ourselves in a position to compete for conference this year. And, that it's lofty because, if you see our record from last year, it isn't, quite there. But again, we bring a lot to the table. And if we can put it together, we can put it together for 4 quarters, I think that we can put ourselves in a position to work towards that.
That's great. And, it seems to me just on a personal level here, the, that large school large school group up there that's wide open for the conference, I feel, right now at this point. So looking at your schedule, we'll talk about that, maybe even some of these conference games and whatnot. Are there any dates or teams that stand out for you as important tests for your respective squads?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we're taking each game a day at a time, and right now one's not meaning more than another. We're happy whenever that game day comes around, and we're able to play those games. And so, it's really not that one is bigger than the other at this point. It's trying to be successful and doing things we can each game, taking care of the things that we're capable of.
Awesome. Final question for you, and we'll let you go here. This is the Ray question here, and we've kind of put a twist on it for COVID. During the break here, I know you probably had a little bit of time off and whatnot. Is there something that you picked up, maybe a hobby or just some sort of interest during COVID?
Well, I would say that without sports and things on TV like that to watch, normally that's a lot. That's what's on TV at our house the majority of the time. I feel like my dog was probably the happiest he had ever been because he received the most attention and the most walks. And so he was probably the happiest person in the household during the quarantine.
I love it. Well, thanks, Coach, and we appreciate you, Coach Schmidt, being on, and I'm sure we'll be catching up with you along the way in the season here, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks.